everyone. Today we are talking to Meggin Knight all about fun dental hygiene stuff. We're going to talk about Uber for dentistry. We're going to talk about her travels with her military spouse. And we're just going to talk about a bunch of unique perspectives of public health dentistry, interim dental hygiene providers, and all the dental hygiene things. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Grow RDH Podcast. We have an exciting episode today. We are interviewing Meggin Knight. Meggin Knight is a dental hygienist whose career has taken her from small town Georgia to clinics across the country with her Navy spouse. Meggin is passionate about reimagining access to care, creating innovative solutions like a national pathway for interim providers, and even envisioning an Uber for dentistry. So I'm really excited to hear about that one. She's been involved with initiatives such as LGBR and SDF on the East Coast, and she brings a unique perspective that blends public health, international standards of care, and real-life habits that shape oral health outcomes. She is also an aspiring artist, painter, children's book author, and all of these fun things. And I'm excited to share her unique insights. So welcome, Meggin, to the podcast. Please just give us a little introduction. Tell us about your personal, your professional journey and how you got to be where you are today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's great to be here. Such an awesome platform. I love what you're doing with it. I think it's great to bring attention to the oral healthcare crisis in America. And that is where I started. I started out as a dental hygienist, traveling around with my spouse who was stationed in different states across the United States. And we had a big journey, but I've landed in my home state, and a lot of the ideas I come up with over the years are, albeit very expensive and big, they're still really good ideas. So I just love this opportunity to share and maybe get some, input from different sources, outreach, podcasts, crowdfunding, anything you've got. I'm up for it. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love it. We are going to first just kind of talk about like big picture and vision, and specifically about interim providers. And this was coming off, you reached out to me after Derek Sven's episode when we were talking about independent practice and all of these things. So I first want to talk about that. You mentioned wanting to create a pathway for hygienists to be interim providers on a national scale. And this has a lot to do with you having to travel around state to state and different licensures. So what does that pathway look like in your mind?
So for me, what I noticed traveling state to state and practice to practice is, be it there is a national board for dentists. There are dentists who are very aggressive and dentists who are very conservative in their treatment planning. And I like to encourage patients to think of each dentist as a practice. And even, when you start talking about medical professionals, they are called practitioners. So they're all practicing, trying to be at the highest level, be at their very best, and work on their strengths. So a lot of patients will, move from one practice to another, and they'll be like, well, Dr. So-and-so didn't do it this way, and, they did it this way, and it's different. So philosophies across the United States, East Coast, West Coast, in the middle are, generally the same, but there are some inconsistencies. And so when I was thinking about how to solve this problem or what we could do to make it easier, it was really looking at the people that are already in the practice and seeing if they are comfortable being more than where they are, or maybe providing more services in the time that a dentist takes over a practice from one dentist to another. So an interim provider would look something like, Jane has been at a practice for 5 years and she's a hygienist, and we have a new national law that says, hygienists can own their own practice and can refer to doctors. And hygienists know their patients pretty well from a clinical standpoint. We know what they're comfortable with, what sort of, philosophy they're drawn to, whether it's, a tiny incipient lesion to a brand new crown. We know kind of where they would be financially and, philosophy. It would look like Jane would want to, help the new doctor out and help the transition. And so less patients would actually leave the practice and go somewhere else, because that's what you end up having is practice hopping, inconsistencies in care, and, patients will quit going and they will just stop. So if there's a way to make that not happen, it would be to have, hygiene practitioners across the nation, and it would be to encourage patients to, seek care and put feet on the ground in those rural areas where there are not any practitioners or where dentists actually don't want to live, because there are some incentives for dentists to go to small towns, but, in my hometown, which is, pretty average size, I feel like America is not like a big city, but there are a lot of dentists who are just, they're booked. There's no one to really, you can't see anymore. You can't take any more new patients. And so we end up with a lot of people who just don't go, and there are some free clinics, there are dental schools and a lot of opportunities there, but they're usually pretty far away. If we can create more locations, then I think we could address that issue, and that would start with the dental hygiene practitioner.
Yeah. And it sounds like even just for Colorado, for example, this already exists there, right? And those independent practicing hygienists are referring to these dentists regularly, and it's working. So using like a model like that is working and successful, it's showing that dentists and hygienists can have that referral relationship versus a supervision relationship.
Go so far as to say it would increase production, because most of the time hygienists spend on average about 10 to 15 minutes waiting on the doctor to do an exam, and where they could just write down what they need to look at, and then they could get rescheduled with the doctor for an exam and restorative in the same appointment. So it could optimize the doctor and hygienist time and be more efficient.
Absolutely. And I think what we talked a little bit about before we started recording is how efficient hygienists can be. If we were in charge of our own schedule and we were in charge of our own production and getting reimbursed, we are efficient workers, man, right?
Yeah, there are some moms that literally blow me away. They'll have 5 kids, 3 doctorates, and I'm just like, I don't know how you did it. I mean, I'm okay, but like there are some really efficient people out there who could make some good decisions for, the profession, and I think it would go a long way and be a vote of confidence and, help a lot of people if we could get a national, we took a national board when we took our, sat for our dental hygiene license. And if you could get a national board of dental hygiene, NBDH, I think that exists, but you could get that group to be like, let's do this. And and like we talked about, I think Bernie Sanders would get behind it. I think Donald would, Mr. President would get behind it too. So, he has fantastic teeth.
Not only that, but it's a good business decision, right? If you look at the bottom line, this would help your bottom line.
Yeah, you can't argue like with politicians and be like, oral hygiene is not an issue. When you're a politician, you want to look good. You want to have, a good presentation. And so if you can get everybody in America looking good, and here's the thing, this is what I love, this whole concept, Colorado, California, the UK is doing it. They have dental therapists, and their dental therapists can actually do composite bonding. And not that we're trying to stretch it that far, but like it would be amazing. Like you could, I think you could fix it like overnight with a, executive order or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And what blows my mind, I guess, is it's things that we're already required to teach our students. Like our students already know this stuff. So CODA, the Commission on Dental Accreditation, already mandates that we teach our students this. It's only restricted by the supervision laws in each state, and they're so different.
Yes, and that is what is interesting, traveling across different states, going from state to state, working with different doctors, is there is a huge gray area. And nobody really ever talks about this. It's kind of interesting. So as a hygienist, when a dentist comes in to do an exam, there are different types of doctors. They want it done differently. Some doctors don't want you to say anything. They don't want you to say anything at all. Some doctors want you to have a list written down of the areas you see. Some doctors will be like, what did you see? And that's fantastic. Co-diagnosing is amazing. And dentists, I have, witnessed, are extremely stressed out. Like owning a practice is insanely hard. It's hard enough. So we're going to have the dentist do his work, check the hygienist's work, own the practice, maintain the liability. We're going to have him do all these things and keep his sanity. They don't. They just can't.
Yeah.
It's hard. And I mean, like, aren't we like dentists are like one of the number one, like, stressed out professions? It's like dentists and pilots. Like, I didn't do myself favors. I mean, I'm not a dentist, but like dental hygiene and pilots is two very at-risk professions. So
Yeah.
the stress level, it's there, it's real, but we could do more. Like, we could rebalance and be a lot better for it.
I really believe that. I think that rebalance is a perfect word. I think if the whole dental field, the whole industry just took a moment and just looked at the things that aren't working, just like, let's take a pause here. Can we just rebalance and look at some of these really inefficient things that we're doing? We could all make each other's lives much easier. It's just there's a piece there that there's control, and some dentists really want that control, and it's unfortunate because that makes things move less efficiently, right? The more micromanaging you are, the less efficient things are going to move.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with personalities. Like, not everybody's going to work well together. You know, when you do a disc profile, which, being in psychology, you've probably heard of that before. I'm a high S. So, like, everybody's different. But when you have someone in your practice who genuinely wants to help you out and wants to make things easier for you, like, and they'll work really, really hard, like, I mean, some dentists see that and they want to, take advantage of that and promote you and give you more leniency and let you do a little bit more. And some dentists are a little bit more on the other side. But the key to I think the whole strategy behind this is that the hygienist in this structure would not be doing the exam. We're not taking that exam money off the table for the dentist. The dentist is still doing the exam. The only thing we're doing is taking the gray area and we're writing it down and we're handing it to them. Be like, this is what I see. That's it. And then you let them handle it. Like, that's fine. It would change that structure. And the hygienist would keep the prophy fee and have some additional overhead, like owning their own practice. They would, have to do a little bit more, in all honesty. So it wouldn't be a walk in the park.
No, but with that responsibility becomes your purpose, and again, your productivity, your autonomy. With that, all of that stuff builds your confidence, and it builds your ability to do those things. If you ask us to step up, we'll step up, right?
Yeah. It creates incentive too, which is what a lot of hygiene practices and hygienists don't have, because you're at a certain wage, like where you are as a clinical, and you have to move practices, and you do that every so often if you want to, like, change your wage structure. But in the end, you're not really adding, unless you're doing like, laser licensing, or you're doing, local anesthetic licensing. I mean, and even though you do those things, they really don't change your bottom line if you're already in a practice.
Right.
So incentive is big, and it could create a lot of incentive for hygienists to come back to the field. So we have something to encourage them to be like, hey, let's back.
Yeah. And so, just to kind of wrap up this topic, I want to bring it back to something you said about, like, having the supervision. So you're not really removing the exam. They're still going to do the exam. I think what you are removing, though, is the requirement of the exam under the supervision, right? And by doing that, by removing that requirement, they're still going to get the exam. But if you're removing that requirement, you are giving them more efficiency, and you're going to make the whole system work better. So I think it's such a simple step to really increase productivity. Thank you for all of those thoughts.
When you think about a dentist and how they work as far as isolation, but you're keeping the dentist from having to risk the compromised isolation when he's doing a big procedure, such as a root canal or a 3-unit bridge. So if you keep them in their chair, like in their procedure, you're going to have less risk of that as well. And they're not moving 2 or 3 times an hour.
Exactly. So next I want to transition. I'm really excited for this conversation, the Uber for dentists. Okay, tell me, you compared this kind of idea to be like Uber. How do you foresee, like, an app like this working, or what would be the barriers to this? Tell me all your thoughts on Uber for dentistry.
So there are a handful of apps on the market that work with practices, getting patients, and a lot of them are, they don't have a lot of reach. Not a lot of people are on them. But when I started thinking about this idea, I originally patented it and went through an app developer, and I was going to build it. And the idea got so big, it was going to require almost $500,000, and then it was going to require dollars in storage fees every month at a server site. So I would absolutely love to talk to anybody who wants to make this idea a reality. But basically, you would create an app that, say you have a toothache, you pull it up on your phone, you can see on a map around you within a 5-mile radius which dentists have availability those days to see you. And you can click on that appointment anonymously using a username because we don't want to violate HIPAA. And you can sign up for that appointment. And then the dentist actually fills that chair for the day and gains you as a patient, hopefully, and provides a service for you. The structure is big because it requires, a patient user interface and a dentist, user interface. So there's two sides to it. Down the line, if I found somebody to work on this with me, which I would absolutely love, you would be optimizing patient care because dentists could, basically record on the app what they did on your tooth, and you would carry that with you. And one of my patients actually came in with us a couple of, I think it was about a year ago. And I had already had this idea for a long time, but he literally sat down and I was like, there's some things that he might want to work on for you. And he was like, that's okay. I keep a spreadsheet of everything I've had done. And I was like, are you kidding? And he was like, yeah, I got it right here. And I was like, okay, so pull up tooth number 2. I was like, what do you have done on tooth number? He's like, oh, I had an MO amalgam filling done on that. And it was done in 2015 by this dentist in this state. And I was like, holy cow. He's actually, he's doing it for himself. And I was like, this could be an insane way to do data tracking for, anybody really, companies that want to track, oral health conditions, like caries rate in the United States. You could do so much with this, but that in the end, it's a and I really just need Jeff Bezos to hop on here and help me make it happen.
Right?
So,
At Jeff Bezos.
I'm still a poor
Love that idea,
but
though.
it could you could really just be walking around carrying your chart around with you, and every time you had something done to your tooth, you could, it would update. And then, obviously it would increase access to care because in the end of the, you're usually calling your friends being like, hey, I need to see somebody today. Can anybody get me in today? And you make 5 or 6, 7, 8 calls trying to get in somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but if you could pull it up and be like, I can see so-and-so, and it's hooked to a Google review,
Yeah.
and it's Google Maps. It's just it's a lot of data, and you have to store it somewhere. So it's just expensive. I mean, all the good ideas.
All good ideas are right. But I mean, there's so much potential there in terms of giving patients autonomy. Like if they have their chart at their fingertips, they also can. It's almost like a oral health education tool too, because it gives them the ownership of having access to that and understanding that every time they access that, it gives you an opportunity to teach them about what is going on in their mouth. I love that. Yeah, there would definitely be a lot of things to investigate of what you would have to do, but the idea itself is very novel, I think. And hey, if you even included the chip, I mean, tie the chip into it, they could have a 24/7, what is the pH of my saliva right now? Almost like a diabetic. Don't they do the where it's a constant tracking of your sugars? That could be in your mouth, and it'd be high pH alert. You get alert on your phone you need to buffer. You need to buffer. That would be so cool. That's so cool. Okay, well, we will update you when that happens, and we will post. We will do a new episode to announce the launching of the app when it happens, because it's gonna happen. All right, we'll move topics now. Sometimes the part of informed consent is being given all the options. And I know with new technologies, I know some dentists don't believe in SDF. I know some dentists believe only SDF after certain things. But that goes back to that should be an option, right? So if you have a patient that doesn't have the financial capability to pay for a restoration right now, SDF could be an option for 6 months or something, or some sort of fluoride regimen until they can afford it. Sometimes I think that maybe we can think outside the box a little more with our options. And legally, to me, that is our responsibility to the patient to give them as many options as possible. Because in this economy, finances are a huge deal right now. And SDF to me is highly, highly underutilized. I think it could be utilized way more. But again, that goes back to different state laws. I think some states are very restrictive in what hygienists can do with SDF. And to me, the whole point, like if it's showing this capability to arrest caries, that should be just a no-brainer, that is part of the preventive options that a hygienist can provide. And so it'll be interesting the more that research comes out on SDF and its safety and stuff. I'm hoping that becomes way more utilized. And I love that you brought up Arestin. I teach perio, and Arestin is one of the biggest thorns in my side. It is outrageously expensive, and not all patients can afford it.
When you think about it, yeah, it's 65 per site.
Yeah.
And even in bigger cities, they're charging more because the actual cost of it is incredibly high. So, when you talk about profit margins or like covering your overhead for, the dispensers, applicators, and storage, that's what it's running. When they were teaching the laser, they were like, you can charge like $100 per quad for this. And I was like, that will not fly in where I am, but I could charge we could charge $100 for the entire mouth and do like an antimicrobial, treatment. And that would be, I think compared to one side of Arestin being 65, and then we treat all of the bacteria in the mouth, that I could all day, I could do that. And it would be great.
Yeah.
And then, when you start talking about, perio, perio is another beast, because I've been running into like functional perio so much. Traumatic occlusion had last week, and clinic just bit me in the butt. Like just every day it was something. Like everybody comes in there like, they told me I had periodontal disease, and I was like, well, you've got 4s and 5s, but you have no subgingival tartar. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I wear a CPAP. Well, there you go. I mean, we're doing, 600 PSI pressure every night. It's going to loosen the PDL. You're going to have 4s and 5s, pocket wise. So that's been the story of my life for the last year. I've talked about occlusal guards, sleep apnea, TMJ and tension. I mean, everybody is stressed right now, trying to figure out what to do, where to go, and everybody's trying to make ends meet. So,
and I think that follows the trend of, as more of that awareness is coming out, that myofunctional therapy is really opening up people's eyes to how important airway, breathing, all of that stuff is to, sleep apnea and myofunctional therapy just go so deep into that functional part of your oral cavity. And so that's what I've loved about myofunctional therapy, is really setting the scene right now. And I love the trend towards that, because I think it is so much deeper than just subcalc under the gum.
Yeah, like we've got patients coming in, and I'm like, look at the first thing I do is I'm looking at their jaw, their smile, like the angle of their mandible, like how big their masseters are, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because like it's not like sleep apnea traditionally was about weight. Like they were like, you need to lose some weight, you'll snore less, you'll be able to breathe more. But I've seen patients that are 110 pounds soaking wet, and they are 100% like sleep apnea. But that's one portion of it. We also have a lot of patients who are, going through stress, and I'm like, okay, we need to go to the orthodontist. We need a broad picture of like what we can do for you. And then they may be like, you know what, I can't really afford that right now. And then they'll have a health savings account. And I'm like, all right, what can we do with this? And she's like, one of my patients was like, oh yeah, I get free massages. And I was like, let's go. Let's do it. Go get that. You need it.
Yes, release the tension.
I was like, go get some, see if you can go through your medical doctor and get some Botox in your trap muscles. Cause it's all connected. I mean, as hygienists, we literally know it because we're in the worst positions ever. I mean, I don't know about you in like ergonomics, but some days I'm terrible at it. I'm just terrible. So you do your best, but it is head and neck pain when you're in this profession is pretty common, but for a lot of patients in a lot of other professions, it is just as common. So, and
I'm sitting here.
I think
I worked today and I got a pain in my upper back, and it's always the same spot. And I know better. That's the thing. I know better, and I still, have bad ergonomics sometimes. But I totally get what you're saying.
Have you ever seen 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton?
No,
The movie.
I haven't. No, should I?
Okay, go watch it.
It's hilarious. I'm gonna watch the movie tonight. I've never seen that movie. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I am gonna watch it tonight. I love that. Okay, so we are going to wrap it up. So for anybody that's listening, please go check out Megan's TikTok channel. She posts really cool art painting videos. They are so neat. So please go check her out. Follow her for that. And she also has some books, some children's books that she has written on Barnes & Noble. So we're going to post all the links for you in the descriptions below. So make sure you check out all of Megan's stuff. We appreciate you guys for listening. We appreciate you for following along with us on this episode. I hope, Megan, you're going to be a repeat guest. So hopefully you will hear more from Megan in the future when she launches her new app, when she has a new children's book coming out. We will definitely, hopefully, be seeing you again on the podcast. Hygienists, if you value this content, please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things, and we will see you on the next episode.